Welcome, friends. Welcome back to Sunday morning in the old cookbook show. Today we're going to go back to the Walsh County cookbook, and we're going to do a recipe called banana bread. Now, this cookbook was published in 1936. And a couple of weeks ago, we did a recipe for a banana cake. And in that video, I talked about how banana cakes started to show up in recipe books in the late 1920s, early 1930s. And banana bread starts to show up in the early 1930s. And the first published recipe that a lot of people can point to for banana bread was 1933. So this is 1937, not too long into the history of banana bread. And I find this recipe to be very interesting because it's sort of a combination of date and nut bread recipes that you can find in this same book. So what a lot of people probably at this point were doing was they've heard about banana bread. And so they're looking around and they're saying, okay, so this banana bread, it's a quick bread. What other quick breads do I make? Date and nut loaf. Let's put some bananas in it. And so this also has nuts and dates. And we're going to see how this works out. So in here, I've got some butter and some sugar, and I'm going to cream that together. And then next into this creamed mixture are 2 eggs. And you want to beat them in one at a time. A lot of people ask me why. You can put them both in at the same time, definitely if you want to, but you're going to have to mix it a lot longer to get them creamed in consistently. What you'll find out is that your mixture gets really sloppy and doesn't cream together very well. Put them in one at a time, it'll mix in better. It's just the way it works. And that's it. The first one's mixed in. Go right ahead with the second one. Okay, before we go much further, I'm going to move on to the bananas. So in the banana bread recipe, I used the Cavendish banana. This is the banana that is most often found in most grocery stores where we live. It is the most produced banana on the planet. It's a monoculture banana. It came in around the 1950s for industrial production, although it was bred in the 1800s in a greenhouse in England, which I find very interesting. So this is the most prevalent banana because it's easy to grow, it's easy to ship, it's easy to store. It's just easy and profitable for the big banana to grow this banana. I used it in the last recipe, and I got a lot of stick in the comment section from people saying I didn't make the recipe correctly because I didn't use the extinct banana that they would have had in the 1930s, which is true and not true all at the same time. This was developed in the 1800s. Quite possibly could have been available to anyone in North America in the 1930s because it was being grown on plantations at that time. So it could have been available. Not quite likely. More likely it was the Gross Michael or Big Mike banana that ran into trouble in the 1950s with a blight that ravaged the giant plantations. And so they needed a replacement because they couldn't grow at scale anymore, which is where that banana came in. But it's not extinct. You can still buy it. It's still out there. It's still available. It's still available across Asia. And there's still at least one plantation in Florida that grows it commercially. So if you're in the right place at the right time, you can get that banana from the 1930s. But I couldn't get it. But what I can get here where we live in Toronto are a wide range of much more flavorful bananas. You see these in the grocery store. They take up an entire section, and they're dirt cheap. And then hidden over in the corner of most produce sections where we live are a whole selection of these tiny bananas, varying colors, varying sizes, varying flavors. This one is called the Manzano. And so the deal with these bananas is they were also available in that time period. And you can't really tell what was out there because we don't know exactly what was in the grocery stores at that time. But this could have been a banana in the 1930s. It's definitely been around that long. It's definitely got a flavor that is similar to the Gross Michael banana. Who knows? So I'm going to use them because they are more banana than banana, to quote Blade Runner. And for those of you about to ask, yes, these bananas, these little manzano bananas, they do have seeds. So they're not cloned. They're grown from seed. It's not a monoculture. So I'm going to put the banana into the creamed butter mixture. Get that in there, get it mixed in, and then we'll add the rest of the wet and dry ingredients. Next ingredient is some baking soda mixed into hot water. This was common in recipes from this time period to dissolve the soda in water and put it into the recipe rather than mixing it into the flour. You actually get a better mix this way than putting it in with the flour. Although with a mixer, wholly unnecessary. Next ingredient is, the recipe calls for sour milk. And I know there's going to be a little bit of disagreement about this in the comment section. And it's open to my interpretation of the recipe. Sour milk is milk that's left out and sours, and bacteria, lactobacillus bacteria, and a bunch of other things get in there, thicken it a little bit, and cause an acidification of the milk, making it sour. Which in terms of 2020, the closest thing you're going to get to that in grocery stores in Canada and the United States is lait de beurre, or buttermilk. And so buttermilk in this context is actually 1% skim milk that has been inoculated with bacteria in order to thicken and sour it. This has nothing to do with the production of butter. This is not the liquid left over from making butter. And that's a hard one to get your head around because it's just another one of the ways of marketing speak that hinder us with the use of English. In 1937, if it had called for buttermilk, it would actually be the liquid left over from churning butter. And that liquid is, real buttermilk, is clear yellow, kind of looks like apple juice a little bit. It is very acidic, but there is no fat in it because all the fat is in the butter. So in the context of sour milk, just like it says here in the recipe, today you'd use cultured buttermilk. So what I'm going to do now is spoon in some of the flour and mix that in and alternate back and forth between flour and buttermilk until it's all mixed together. And the last two ingredients are chopped walnuts and chopped dates. Just get those mixed in and distributed. And as is customary with these recipes, I got no mixing instructions whatsoever. The only instruction is right at the end: bake 1 hour in a moderate oven. It doesn't say to use a loaf pan, but I assume since it's called banana bread, it's a loaf pan. So we're going to get this into a loaf pan. I've got a moderate oven going, and we'll put it in for an hour, and we'll see what happens. You know what? There's no instructions. It doesn't really tell me much, but I'm thinking this might have made 2 loaves. Let's see what happens.
That's a very thick slice you've cut us.
Oh, Julie. So this is...
Is it a bread or a...
It's a quick bread. So it's
Okay.
It's a banana bread. It's
Okay.
a
Clearly.
1937 banana bread, but it is, so near as I can tell, at this point in the development of banana breads, what a lot of people are doing is just taking quick breads that they already have.
And smushing some bananas in.
Smushing some bananas in. So in this case, this is a date and walnut bread.
I was going to say, is those dates in there?
Yeah.
Of course there's dates in there.
So it's a date and walnut quick bread that Olga Hansen has shoved some bananas into.
Okay.
So it is going to be it is a very dense.
Yeah, but it's got, like, it smells wonderful. Mm-hmm. And it's got the,
Okay. It's soft and moist inside. Mm-hmm. It is incredibly dense. And part of that is there's very little baking soda in it. Like the amount of baking soda is very tiny. Maybe a little bit more baking soda to get more loft. And definitely it should have been cooked in 2 smaller loaf tins. Loaf tins in 2020 are...
Apparently smaller?
No, today's loaf tins are a lot bigger than they
Yes.
would have been in 1937. Yeah, so in 1937 they would have been much smaller, which would have made my cooking time better. Because it did not cook in an hour. So the tin was too big. Choose a smaller tin. It's got great flavor though. Mm-hmm. It's got great flavor. So it called for 4 large bananas.
Now I'm curious, which bananas did you use?
So I didn't use the Cavendish.
Okay.
I used these Manzano. And these are quite small,
So-
but I don't know what bananas Olga was using in 1935, 1937.
I don't know that it's yet the Cavendish.
No,
The Cavendish.
Well, the Cavendish could have been, because the Cavendish was developed in the 1800s.
Okay, but it wasn't as ubiquitous as it is today.
It was probably the Gross Michael, which is called the Big Mike, which is a banana that's not quite as big as the Cavendish, but not quite as small as that. So I used 8 of those little bananas.
Sure.
And I mean, the banana flavor is absolutely incredible. Crack that open. Let's taste that banana.
Okay. Do you think it's going to taste different than your usual banana?
I'm
We
gonna
are. I mean, let's face it. We all eat Cavendish bananas for the most part here in North America.
Yeah.
Unless you are, I'll take this.
Unless you live in banana country.
You live in Vietnam, where
Yeah.
there's a different species of banana that's ripe at any given time in the year.
Every few weeks there's a different species, wasn't there? And it was great. And depending on where you were in the north or the south.
That's a great banana flavor. The texture's different. It looks like there's actual little seeds inside.
There are seeds inside. When I mushed it up, I could see the seeds. Yeah, so the texture's different. It might not be as sweet, but it's got more banana flavor to me.
I'll have another, but it seems that we're gone.
They're
It's
gone.
done. It's it. It's just a wee snack.
So this is not banana bread as we would think of banana bread today,
But someone's got to make the first version, and hey,
but it's great.
Olga certainly did.
It's a great alternative to just a plain Jane banana bread.
I think it comes with a better story.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.